Well, I think the mood today is one of anticipation for the G20, as though the G8 was just a warm-up, and the comment I've been hearing, it's the economy, stupid. That's why we're here, that's what we want to focus on. And I think that's where a lot of the attention, both here in the media center is, and amongst observers outside. And clearly, there are a couple of key questions that came out of Pittsburgh. I mean, one is on financial regulation, where the G20 countries committed to work together to put into place a framework, a broad framework, which they would all subscribe to. I mean, what we're seeing right now is the United States has just passed a massive financial regulatory reform bill. In Europe, we're seeing Germany put in a ban on short selling. We're seeing the bank levy tax which went into place, which is more of a revenue-raising measure, in my view, than anything else. And they're now saying, well, we want the rest of the world to come along because we've done it. We don't want to put our companies at a disadvantage. So that promise of Pittsburgh, which is we're going to work together, seems to be flying in the face. No, we're going to go our own way, and then we want the rest of you to come back and do what we did. And that's the big challenge facing the G20 leaders, which is, as we've gone out of a crisis where they did work together and they got very high marks because they all saw the abyss and knew that they had to work together, as that crisis spirit has faded, so was that sense of cooperation. Domestic politics becomes much more important. And so tomorrow is going to be a key point. Now, the agenda said we will agree by the end of the year. So in some ways, it's not fair if they don't come out tomorrow with agreed rules, new rules, to say it's a failure. But on the other hand, we see where a number of countries are going, and so we know that there are problems there. I mean, the other issue, of course, is on fiscal consolidation. Where do we go? How do we sustain growth? How do we create jobs? And this is particularly what's on people's mind. And what we've seen is some signals from the United States on the letter by President Obama saying, you know, here are some clear fiscal targets over the medium term. We've seen the Chinese government announce greater flexibility with the renminbi exchange rate. Now, people say, well, how serious is this? How much flexibility? And there are important questions. But, you know, the Chinese have given a signal. The United States, you know, it's one thing for the president to say, I've got some fiscal targets, but at the end of the day, Congress determines it. So you can equally say, will the US deliver? But the real question is Europe, because Europe faces clearly some severe debt problems. And to solve those debt problems, they need not just to have reductions in their budgets, but they have to get growth going. And right now, the growth projections for Europe are dismal. And so how are they going to do this? And it's going to require them to tackle some structural issues like pension reform, like labor market reform, that frankly they've been sitting on for years. And that's, right now, in my view, is the big elephant in the room. Is Europe going to come up to the table? Are they going to deal with their internal governance issues? Are they going to put in place the measures that are going to be necessary to achieve a level of growth which is going to enable them to deal with their debt problems? So I think that's what's really on the agenda tomorrow, and I think that's what we're all waiting to see. So tomorrow will tell us how much progress they make.